Hello everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to hear more meaningful stories.
Sunlight pooled like honey over the garden veranda as crystal glasses chimed and violins sighed, but the music stopped cold when Madison Hayes' voice cracked across the lawn. "You're just a lowly maid, Danielle." 1,000 silent forks hovered midair, while every guest turned to the trembling centerpiece where Danielle Moore stood, fingers still brushing the neck of an ivory rose vase she had nudged a single inch. Madison, radiant in pearl-studded satin, pointed at the flowers as though they were evidence of a crime, venom dripping from each crisp word. Beside her, Victoria Hayes tightened her smile into a blade and hissed, "You people should know better than to touch what you can't afford." The phrase struck harder than any slap, yet Danielle's spine lengthened. She smoothed her apron and offered a calm apology, promising to adjust the display. "Don't act innocent," Madison sneered, arms folded. "Drop to your knees and beg, or forfeit your paycheck." Danielle's heartbeat slowed into iron certainty. "I won't kneel," she said, voice steady enough to shatter glass. Gasps rippled like wind through wheat. Then Julian Carter stepped from the archway, tuxedo gleaming, eyes locked on his bride. "When you belittle her, you belittle the man who raised me," he declared, voice low, lethal. He drew off his ring, let it fall into Madison's shaking hand, and faced the stunned crowd. "There will be no wedding today." Chairs scraped, whispers flared, reputations unraveled beneath the oaks, while Danielle turned away from toppled dreams as gracefully as a queen, the scent of roses and lemon polish clinging to her hands. Hands that had refused to bend, and in doing so, bent the world around her. By sunrise, Danielle's phone buzzed with a storm of messages. Carmen's frantic voice note, Isaac's whispering disbelief, even strangers sending her clips of the viral video now racing across the internet under the tag, "Just a lowly maid." Her face, once overlooked in banquet halls, now glowed on screens across the country, unflinching, composed, refusing to kneel. By mid-morning, the veranda's general manager, Mr. Pendleton, called her into his office, his salt and pepper hair disheveled, his voice tight with the weight of headlines. "Technically, you're not fired," he said, folding his arms as if bracing for a hurricane. "But I'm putting you on paid leave until this blows over." Danielle nodded, calm, collected, though her heart felt like porcelain just out of the kiln. That afternoon, as she stepped out into the soft blaze of summer, ready to vanish into silence, she heard the click of dress shoes on pavement and turned. It was Julian Carter, sleeves rolled, eyes shadowed but resolute. "You don't owe me anything," she said before he could speak. "I know," he replied, "but I owe you everything." He told her about the voice he nearly ignored, the lie he nearly married, and the truth she'd made impossible to unsee. Then, with the weight of his name behind him, he offered her something not out of pity, but respect, a leadership role in a new restaurant, community-based, equitable, rooted in dignity. "You won't just run the front of house," he said. "You'll help build the house from the ground up." Danielle looked at the horizon, still raw from yesterday's fire, and without flinching said, "I'll think about it." But deep inside, where her courage lived, she already knew. She was done kneeling and ready to rise. The shell of the old jazz club echoed with dust and possibility as Danielle stepped through the unfinished doorway, blueprint in one hand and memory in the other. Sunlight filtered through high windows, catching on exposed brick, steel beams, and the quiet determination in her gaze. This place, once filled with forgotten music, would now pulse with purpose. She moved like a conductor through organized chaos, greeting contractors, tasting sauces with Miss Evelyn in the kitchen-to-be, debating floor plans with Julian over long evenings filled with ideas and sweat. Isaac helped wire the lighting while Sophie organized menus with ink-stained fingers and a smile as wide as the Texas sky. They named it Uprise. Not a brand, but a banner. On opening night, under soft golden lights and gospel humming low from the back, they welcomed not critics or influencers, but those too often ignored. Bus drivers, single mothers, teachers, janitors, elders in Sunday hats and work-worn hands. Laughter rang out louder than any PR stunt, and every dish was served with reverence. Catfish crisp to perfection, cornbread warm as memory. Danielle stood at the center, not to be seen, but to see. Her staff didn't call her boss. They called her Miss Moore, with respect born from witnessing her build something holy from the ruins of humiliation. And above the kitchen door, handwritten on reclaimed wood, hung the creed that guided every breath of this reborn space. We don't kneel to cruelty. We rise to dignity. That night, as the last guest left with full belly and fuller heart, Danielle stood in the quiet hum of Uprise and felt it in her bones. This wasn't a restaurant. It was a revolution served warm. Momentum spread like wildfire from the kitchen of Uprise to every corner of the city, first as whispers in barbershops and church pews, then headlines, podcasts, open letters. Danielle launched the Community Equity Fund with the same fire that once steadied her hands at that wedding table, pouring seed money into food trucks painted by local artists, scholarships for first-generation college students, and microgrants for bookstores and corner bakeries that had weathered too many storms. Richard Carter, moved by the quiet grace she showed when he hadn't, sent a check with no fanfare, no signature, just 3 words. For the next one. Danielle didn't blink. She folded the money into the launch folder and kept building. She rolled out the Second Seat project, ensuring that dishwashers could one day write menus, that busboys could rise to ownership. And yet, even as Uprise bloomed, the past scratched at the windows. A leaked video surfaced, Whitney Hayes, venom still fresh, caught mocking Danielle and declaring, "Her kind always overreaches." The internet exploded. The Hayes family's empire crumbled in real time. Contracts pulled, sponsors vanished, investors recoiled from the heat. People begged Danielle to respond, to eviscerate Whitney in the press. But she simply shook her head. "We don't bury," she said. "We build." And so she did, plate by plate, name by name. Every reservation, every line cook trained, every neighborhood child who walked through Uprise's doors felt it. This was more than food, more than vengeance. This was the sound of legacy being rewritten, not with rage, but with resolve. The autumn air carried a quiet sharpness as Danielle stepped onto the polished wood stage in her dark green server's uniform, the same apron she wore the day she refused to kneel. The Civic Honor Award glistened on the podium beside her, but her gaze found the young black girl in the second row, wide-eyed and holding her father's hand like hope itself. "There was a time," Danielle said, voice low but sure, "when I believed my job defined my worth. But I've learned it's how you carry yourself when no one's watching that tells the truth." Thunderous applause rolled through the hall, but the real reckoning came days earlier, when Caroline Hayes walked into the turning table, not with security or excuses, but with a handwritten letter and a bowed head. "I taught my daughter to smile at maids," it read, "but not to respect them. That's on me." Danielle read the letter in the break room, pressed it to her chest, and exhaled years of buried insult. Days later, Whitney arrived, stripped of diamonds and bravado, sunflower bouquet trembling in her hands. "I didn't recognize myself that day," she whispered. Danielle led her to the garden, same table, same willow, and listened as Whitney unraveled years of blindness. "I hated you for not kneeling," she confessed, "because you had something I didn't, dignity." Danielle didn't offer forgiveness, only a path forward. "Keep listening. Use your voice to lift, not silence." And when Danielle spoke before Congress, standing beneath marble columns and centuries of silence, she didn't call herself a victim. She called herself a witness. "Systems change slow," she said, "but hearts can crack wide open in a single moment." And hers had, again and again, not just broken, but bloomed. That night, as the kitchen crew surprised her with candles, hugs, and gospel laughter, Marcus raised his glass and said, "To the woman who showed us all that rising doesn't always mean standing loud. Sometimes it just means not bending." And in that warmth, in that room stitched with second chances, Danielle finally felt what she had once only served to others: belonging. Snow flirted with the edge of the Detroit skyline as Danielle adjusted her apron in the hotel mirror, its fabric no longer just a uniform, but a banner sewn with courage and memory. Downstairs, the turning table's second location pulsed with life, golden lights strung like stars above polished tables, the scent of collard greens, peach cobbler, and rosemary filling every breath. Marcus moved like steady rhythm beside her, checking last-minute details while the staff whispered with excitement, ready to open a door that meant more than dinner. Just before noon, a boy arrived on a bike, cheeks red from wind, holding an envelope with Danielle's name scrawled across it. Inside was a note from Eleanor Grace, the woman who once tried to make her kneel. "My daughter watched you speak," it read. And for the first time, she saw someone who looked like her command a room without apology. "Thank you." Danielle slipped the letter into her pocket, heart tightened with something softer than pride. The restaurant filled with laughter, clinking glasses and hands reaching across tables. Robin Clay appeared briefly, delivering a small wooden box engraved, "Whose stillness moved mountains." That night, as fairy lights glowed above the courtyard, Marcus lifted his glass. To the woman who didn't just challenge the story, she rewrote it. One by one, guests placed single flowers on an empty table in the corner. No nameplate, no candle, just space for the unseen. A magnolia, a daisy, a child's paper bloom. Danielle added the envelope from Eleanor, exposed and open. After the last dish was scrubbed, she walked into the silence of the kitchen, the ghost of her mother's hands guiding her every motion. Outside, snow began to fall, soft, certain. Marcus opened the car door and grinned. "Still in your uniform?" She smiled back. "Always." Behind them, the turning table shimmered like a lighthouse in a bruised world. Its tables full, its doors wide, its legacy only just beginning. True strength isn't in shouting back. It's in standing tall when silence would be easier. Respect begins not with titles, but with how we treat one another at the table. If stories like this move you, be part of the change. Subscribe now and help us share more voices that deserve to be heard.